Alright, on to more human stuff. Scientists identify a speech trait that foreshadows cognitive decline. Whoa! Can you pass me the whatchamacallit? Right over there next to the thingamajig. Many of us will experience lethologica, or difficulty finding words in everyday life. It usually becomes more prominent with age. When I had my brain injury, I was having it all the fucking time. Like, absolutely. It's gotten better, obviously. Relatively. Frequent difficulty finding the right words can be a sign. Signal changes in the brain consist with early preclinical signs of Alzheimer's disease before more obvious symptoms emerge. However, a recent study from the University of Toronto suggests it's more the speed of speech rather than the difficulty in finding words that is a more accurate indicator of the brain health in older adults. By the way, this is a small sampling size if it's just 125. The researchers asked 125 healthy adults ages 18 to 90 to describe a scene in detail. Recordings of these descriptions were subsequently analyzed by artificial intelligence software to extract features such as speed of talking, duration of pauses between words, and the variety of words used. Participants also completed a standard set of tests that measure concentration, thinking speed, and the ability to plan and carry out tasks. Age-related decline in these executive abilities was closely linked to the pace of a person's everyday speech, suggesting a broader decline than just difficulty in finding the right word. The novel aspect of this study was the use of a picture-word inference task. A clever task designed to separate two steps of naming an object, finding the right word, and instructing the mouth on how to say it aloud. During the task, participants were shown pictures of everyday objects, such as a broom, while being played an audio clip of a word that is either related in meaning, such as mop, which makes it harder to think of the picture's name, or a sound what sounds familiar, such as groom, which can make it easier. Interesting, the study found that the natural speed of older adults was relative to their quickness in naming pictures. This highlights a general slowdown in processing that might underline broader cognitive and linguistic changes with age, rather than specific challenges in memory retrieval for words. How to make the findings more powerful? While the findings from the study are interesting, finding words in response to picture-based cues may not reflect the complexity of vocabulary in unconstrained everyday conversation. Verbal fluency tasks, which require participants to generate as many words as possible from any given category, for example, animals or fruits, or starting with a specific letter within a time limit, may be used with picture naming to better capture the tip of the tongue phenomenon. The tip of the tongue phenomenon refers to the temporary inability to retrieve a word from memory, despite partial recall and the feeling the word is known. These tasks are considered a better test of everyday conversations than a picture word inference task because they involve actual retrieval and production of the words from one's vocabulary, similar to the processes involved in natural speech. Well, sorry, throat. While verbal fluency performance does not significantly decline with normal aging, as shown in a 2022 study, poor performance in these tasks can indicate neurodegenerative diseases such as Alzheimer's. These tests are useful because they account for the typical changes in word retrieval ability as one gets older, allowing doctors to identify impairments beyond what is expected from normal aging and potentially detect neurodegenerative conditions. The verbal fluency tests engages various brain regions involved in language, memory, and executive functioning. Hence, they can offer insights into what regions of the brains are affected by cognitive design. The authors of the University of Toronto study could have investigated the participants' substantive experiences in word-finding difficulties, alongside objective measures such as speech pauses. This would provide a more comprehensive understanding of the cognitive processes involved. Personal reports of feeling of struggling to retrieve words could offer valuable insights, complementing the behavioral behavioral data, potentially leading to more powerful tools for quantifying and detecting early cognitive decline. Opening doors. Nevertheless, the study has opened exciting doors for future research, showing that it's not just what we say, but how fast we say it that can reveal cognitive changes. I don't know how I'm autistic. I seem to have that problem all the time. By harnessing natural language processes, technologies like a type of AI, which use computational techniques to analyze and understand human language data, this work advances previous studies that noticed subtle changes in the spoken and written languages of public figures like Ronald Reagan and Irish Murdoch in the years before their mental diagnosis. Funny how they're like jumping over, say, Joe Biden. While these opportunistic reports were based on looking after a dementia diagnosis, these studies this study provides a more systematic, data-driven, and forward-looking approach. Using rapid advancements in natural language processes will allow for automatic detection of language changes, such as slower speed rate. The study underscores the potential of speech rate changes, a significant yet subtle marker that cognitive health that could aid in identifying people at risk before more severe symptoms become apparent. And here's a kind of joke article to some degree, but it's hilarious because it's just humanity in a nutshell. You ready for this? Final thing of the night? Anti-piracy warnings can actually trigger more piracy, a study shows. I'm going to throw this out there. I don't immediately think of piracy until somebody reminds me that piracy exists. That's just for me. Anyways, a new study has revealed that threatening anti-piracy messages can actually lead to people pirating more digital content in some cases, although men and women tend to respond very differently to the messaging used. Men were found to typically increase piracy behaviors after seeing messages that threaten legal action and other negative consequences over piracy, whereas women with the anti-piracy messages typically did have the intended effect. The researchers behind the study from the University of Portsmouth in the UK says that it shows the importance of different types of messaging for different genders. Also shows how the tone of campaigns matter. Yeah. We know already there are a lot of gender differences in piracy, as men tend to pirate more than women. They think it's more acceptable and low risk, says Kate Whitman, a behavioral economist at the University of Portsmouth. What we wanted to look at in this research is to whether the message tackled for piracy had a different effect on men and women. For the purposes of the study, which comprised of 962 adult participants, 3 different types of messaging were used. 2 threatening campaigns outlining the legal and security repercussions of digital piracy, and 1 with a more educational and pro-social in its tone. While the more educational message didn't have any noticeable effects on the levels of piracy, the more aggressive and threatening messages elicited a substantial different reaction between the genders. The most threatening message led to an 18% rise in piracy intentions from men, and a 52% drop in women. The research shows that anti-piracy messaging can advertently increase piracy, which is a phenomenon known as psychological reactance, says Whitman. From an evolutionary psychology point of view, men have a strong reaction to their freedom being threatened, and therefore they do the opposite. I'm going to say this. If you remind me that piracy exists, I'm more likely to pirate. That's just me. Because it's not the first thing that comes to my mind when going after or wanting something. This isn't the first study to suggest anti-piracy messages lead to more piracy, and the results of the experiments also show that those who were already most favorable toward piracy showed the biggest difference in their intention to increase the amount of content they pirated after seeing the piracy messages. For the purposes of the study, piracy was considered to be downloading digital content through unauthorized means. It's an estimated cost the movie, TV, and music industries tens of billions of dollars a year. If that number is to drop, researchers say media companies need to think about how they're getting people to think about piracy. Threatening messages may be the most dramatic option, but they may not be the most effective. This study shows that men and women perceive threatening messages differently. Oh, they needed to do this study to figure that out. Ah. It's clearly a need for a tailored approach in anti-piracy messages, but if the messages can't be accurately targeted to specific genders, they're best avoided if they might send piracy soaring. Stretch, yep, but that's the end of it. Let's see who we're gonna read out. My voice is going, whoa! I love when it starts playing music and yum, yum, yum. Oh, got somebody. All right, y'all. So you had Ciarfox. I hope you have a good day or night, whatever it is, wherever it is you currently are. Tomorrow we'll be doing more Final Fantasy 14. I need to, most likely it'll be the Omega raid. But also probably some, I'll figure out besides that. But, I need to do some more, like, selling of stuff because I, like, have not a lot of money now in the game. So I need to go do some farming. Love y'all.